Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to a brand new video. This one is going to be focused on Winter of Woe Gauntlet. I've got various options for you. In some cases 5 to 6, maybe even 7 or 8 champions per different champion to fight. Of course, a lot of people have already done this, and but what I thought I'd do is I kind of put together a little infographic-y kind of like options. I always like to kind of consider this as options. A lot of people in the game or the community are very specific on who they use, and that's fine. People disagree about so many different options, and what my kind of like take on content at the moment from video perspective is giving players options for things. So if you want to check out this spreadsheet, it is a link in the description. It is part of my normal monthly side quest guide which I put out. But yeah, it's giving options. If you want an easy point of reference on a team, then I would just say just use, if I can grab the arrow, there we go. It's just use Hercules with Odin, and you have a good time throughout it. You know, that's the kind of the cheese method. There is a second cheese method which is kind of revolves around using Ronan, but we'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it, because Ronan actually does a fantastic job, because a lot of the champions have buffs. And hey, what does a high signature version of Ronan do? That's right, he's able to keep a constant or near constant stun if you rotate around, punishing those lovely buffs that are on the enemy, and of course do a heavy attack here and there. I think it's then putting the armor break on. Fun times! But yeah, let's talk a bit more about the content. But first of all, just before we go anywhere, I do want to make you aware of the following. You don't have to do the content now. You can farm up some of those boosts which are there. Just by getting some solo events done, and solo events are important as well, because as you know, you get 25 units, you get level 4 health potion, and you get 29 solo events, which is 29 level 2 revives over the course of the days of this quest running, because you don't have to do it now. You could wait the I think it's allotted like 27 days or something, maybe 26 now by the time you've seen this video, maybe less. 27 apothecary runs gives 27 level 1 revives, which means that 20 level 2 revives and then 9 in the stash, 20 level 1 revives and 7 in the stash as well. There's also potentially 162 4-hour crystals that could be collected in that given time, but of course, you know, you can't be up for every single hour, so it may be a little bit less than that one, but at least gives you a bit of perspective that you could get some revives, some health potions, and I've been quite fortunate recently by picking up level 5 health potions and level 2 revives, and I think a level 1 revive as well. So there's different things available for that one. The other thing to note with the quest is the following: that some of the objectives are going to be class specific, or don't use this particular class specific. So, you know, do bear that in mind when doing the particular content. And also for Paragon players, you may want to go and do Act 8.4 first. Then you might have the means to become Valiant, and then what you can do is get the Valiant based objectives and kind of top up things if you so choose, and that can really help out. I was very fortunate in the way that I approached this quest. Because there was a compensation point, it meant I didn't have to force myself to do a second path and a second run. This was amazing. This is the reason that I did say back a long time ago, the reason I'm doing the objective is to bank something. And because I banked it and also got the compensation point, it meant that I could save revives and health potions on the right route. I didn't play particularly well against Absorbing Man the first time around, and that's the thing that made me kind of really annoyed. What didn't make me annoyed is fights that I think that I had good counters for, or at least could do something with, and that was mainly against Danny Moonstar, and that was, you know, Aegon to a degree, but I can't remember. To us, I can't remember the Winter of Woe Aegon fight, maybe, which is something that was slotted in, and this is a specific one for this quest. I think that's the case. And of course with Spider-Ham, you know, there's going to be lots of options for that. Evade-based counters could be it, but there are some other options which I think a lot of players are playing. And also the champion plays that in a different way, that it's like, just get to an SP3, fire the SP3 and do a load of damage, and, you know, follow the prompters for it. So yeah, that means that there's a lot of other options available to us. So get to the point. Let's get to talk about some of the champion-based options. Of course, as I said, there is some cheese options. There's Hercules with Odin. One thing you will have to remember is that you'll have to bring in 7-star champions, because look, it's right there with the gates. That's not too great, especially for the left side, and does demand you to bring 2 of those 7 stars. My particular team was a 7-star Gamora, a 7-star Odin, because I was fortunate to have those 2 champions, and Hercules. Does it feel a bit of a cop-out to use just Hercules? Yes and no. At the end of the day, I don't like saying to use Hercules all the time. I try and use them as least as possible, just to kind of like get more variety in my roster. But I felt that because there were some things in this quest that are unfair and the AI not being too great, I felt, look, if Kabam are going to cheat the player base or cheat people, or you'll feel that you're cheated, it kind of like, it takes 2 to tango at the end of the day. But there are other options, and I don't want to harp on that particular idea or kind of thought process, because look, you can use different champions for different things, especially if you're going down the bottom end. You can, that sounds weird, science champions are key. Of course, you can break out a lot of the key science champions to take on Absorbing Man, but you do sacrifice if you're like, okay, well, I'm going to leave up, because you may leave up 1 or you may leave up none, the science. And I think a lot of people are like, I need to make this easy on myself. Do I use all science champions and do the bottom route, or do I go a different way with this? So I hope people understand the infographic that I've done, where, you know, you kind of go, okay, well, let's see what does each objective. And the reason that the champions appear multiple times like they do here is to go, okay, well, this will work for this, this, and this. But of course, when we get to science, you know, very little works for this, for Absorbing Man. This is why Shang-Chi has been used a fair bit. Heard somebody use Doctor Doom. I'd love to find out how, why, and the rotation of matters. Because at the end of the day, I'm more of a fan of kind of going down this kind of science route. A lot of science champions tick a lot of boxes. You've got Titania that can do work, Hulk that can do work, and then you could have on the team another champion. You could even take Kate Bishop to have. So you could do a team of Hulk, Kate Bishop, and Titania, and have some really kind of key things that are going to be very helpful. I'm just trying to remember what went on against Nebula. Titania can do Nebula. That reminds me now. So Titania can do Nebula relatively well. So maybe you would go down a route of Titania for that, and also for the end boss, with Kate Bishop being that option to take on Hulkling, which obviously being a hero. And one thing to note with that particular fight is like you're trying to like do special attacks into block. I did use Hercules, and it took a little while to get that kind of like rhythm down, and that was actually the most fun. Once I got the rhythm down, it was like it's a fun fight. The Danny Moonstar fight on the left-hand side is still a one of rotation that just takes a little bit of kind of like learning to do. Especially because it's like miss, and you don't want to be doing that. You want to be evading the SP2. In a nutshell, try and evade the SP2. Would you use power control? I don't know. It's a tough one to go, what is the best option? I've seen people use Angela against that particular fight. But look, Spider-Ham. I should not go away from the particular coverage of things. So we've got Spider-Ham up at the moment. And we've got not afraid of stings, turn the tide, 1 too many hits, debilitate, embrace your fate. The main thing about this is it goes hand in hand with Turn the Tide and Not Afraid of Stings. Not Afraid of Stings, when the attacker activates a special attack, they reflect 35% of damage taken per debuff on them for X seconds. And of course that kind of that goes hand in hand with the damage, which is Turn the Tide. You get a prompter for the special attack to do. So you might want champions that build power easily, and champions like Hyperion are quite good against this. But a lot of champions, it's just a case of staying alive. Number one, staying alive. And number two, it's doing that prompter for a special attack. Like it could be like doing SP3 with that. So I've put in a little note in the guide, in the spreadsheet, which I think was Captain Rogers said on the forums. You'll take on the champion how you feel you want to take on the champion. So it says here, you can't block him and you can't use a special, use an evade counter, load your SP3, get 3 power stings, launch SP3 when the timer is right. He is good as dead in 2 cycles, and that's true. It did take me a revive to do it, but that's just because I decided to roughhouse it with Hercules, each to their own with how they choose to take on this particular content, with it. If I was to say which is the easier side, this is debatable, really. For me, because I didn't like Absorbing Man fight, left side. Because you can cheese. You can cheese with Ronan, you can do Spider Supreme. You could either have a team depending on what is going to be the strongest for it. And this is why I've created the options guide, the infographic, as a pick a mix. Pick who you feel is going to be the best one, the best champions, take it down. Could you do it all in one particular class? Yes. This is why I decided to opt for these versions right here. I hear that Photon, Sandman, and Scorpion's a good team. I would say this is probably on the lower side of things. I might add another team option, which is the one I mentioned, which I would recommend Titania. Was it Titania, Kate Bishop, and Hulk? Titania for Nebula, and Spider-Ham, and Kate Bishop for Hulkling, and Hulk for Absorbing Man. So I remember all these things. There's lots of different options to play out. As I said, go to the pick a mix. Pick your champion options. Make sure to be careful, especially if you don't like the regeneration or the unstoppable that comes up from Absorbing Man, which is the one thing I didn't like. You've just got to box clever around that one. Boxing clever would basically be changing your stance, changing your options in order to get the W. The W will be trying to use champions that have the slow debuff in order to counter the unstoppable. If that's something that's going to make things easier for you. And it's down to you how you choose to take on this content. Whether or not you've already done it, you're rushing in soon, or you're doing it at a later stage once you've saved up revives and health potions. But it isn't as bad. So apologies for not getting this video out sooner, but I wanted to create something that's kind of a good referral tool. So thanks very much for watching and supporting the content, and myself and Em and Frank, the tortoise, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye for now.